What's up, Chicago? Welcome back to the Chicago Sports Podcast presented by PointsBet. Use promo code CHGO when you sign up to get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. I'm Kevin Kaduk, head of content here at CHGO Sports. We took last week off because there was a lot of festivities around opening day. Things were kind of crazy, but we are back. We're talking basketball. Baseball's out of the way for a little bit here, and we're here with a few first-timers on the CHGO podcast. Subria Whitaker from CHGO Sky.
Hello.
Thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
Kacy Standohar making her repeat appearance. Welcome back.
Thank you. Good to be here.
And Matt Peck, who was here on the first one when we were getting to know everybody back on March 4th, which was, I think, 3 years ago.
Yeah, at least. I was going to say 3 decades ago.
3 years and a few Bulls losses ago. Man.
Yeah, too many.
Well,
So
hey,
we're just diving right into that, Kev? Is that the plan?
we are not, and I probably should not have started because we actually have exciting news. When we launched CHGO, we promised you watch parties, and we are actually going to have our first watch party next Friday for Game 3 at the Third Rail Tavern, which is in our neighborhood. Details to follow, but make your plans for that Friday night. We're all going to be out there watching the game with Matt and Big Dave and other personalities.
If you can't find the place, just listen for my voice screaming out in agony because the Bulls are trailing by 4 at halftime, and I'm not dealing with it very well.
If they're going to sneak a victory, it's probably going to be that Game 3, so I think that's what we're planning.
My pal Gottlieb thinks their best shot at stealing one is Game 1. Catch the Bucks off guard, trap game.
Okay.
I don't know if I agree with him, but there are multiple theories.
We'll see. Easter Sunday, maybe Giannis has a little too many peeps that morning.
Do you think he likes peeps?
Well, who doesn't?
I like peeps, but a lot of people don't like
Are we
peeps.
going to turn this into a peeps debate right
Peeps
now?
are nasty.
They're not nasty.
No
Let's
peeps.
also not trust the girl who just admitted to us that she is waiting for her Arby's to be
Guys,
delivered.
Ew.
I love Arby's.
Thank you, Subria.
Arby's.
I have
are
no
you,
shame. I love
80?
it. Literally, their roast beef sandwiches are good.
The fries are like the only acceptable.
Their curly fries are
Thank
also
you.
good.
Next time we're doing this podcast and Casey's on it, she's going to have to wear the Pharrell Arby's hat.
I will.
At
I
the
will.
Will I
very least,
ring
we're
the shame bell at her?
I have no
We're going to
shame.
Photoshop it on you.
You guys can't embarrass me. I'm not embarrassed about it.
Well, hey, the watch party is going to be fun. We're looking forward to meeting everyone and partying with the fans on that Friday night. So stay tuned for details. We will have more as they become available. On today's show, we are talking Chicago versus Milwaukee in advance of this playoff series, which starts Sunday at 5:30. Game 1 up at Fiserv Forum in Milwaukee. Let's talk a little bit about the Bucks-Bulls rivalry. After we do that, we're going to talk about the Chicago-Milwaukee rivalry, if it exists. And then after that, we're going to talk a little WNBA because we have Subria in the house today. She had some awesome – the WNBA All-Star Game is coming to Chicago this summer. But Subria also had a really cool Twitter thread that I loved about sneakers. And I'm an old guy. I've never been a sneakerhead, but I want to get into it. So I'm going to ask Subria some advice on that because she always shows up wearing the best kicks.
We all need advice on that.
Thanks.
So anyhow, the Bulls-Bucks rivalry.
Yeah.
Is it a rivalry, Matt?
It could become one. I'm actually going to write about this for my weekly column that's going to drop tomorrow. There hasn't been much of one over their collective histories. You know, these are two teams that were expansion teams in the late 60s joining the NBA. And in all of that time, they've only faced each other in the playoffs 4 times, which is crazy. Once in the days of Norm and Bob Love, Chet the Jet Walker, shout out. And then a couple of times during MJ's tenure, his rookie season, again in 89-90. And then just that one series between a very young Giannis and the last iteration of the D-Rose-Tibbs Bulls in 2015, which was the series before Rose's Game 3 shot and then LeBron's Game 4 shot and Bulls fans crying.
Subria, do you hate the Bucks?
Absolutely.
I mean, here we go.
I hate anybody that's not Chicago. You know, with the exception of the Cubs, like I hate them too. But yeah, please just let me know when I can begin my rant on Mr. Allen and all the smoke I would like.
Why are you asking for permission?
Well, I just wanted to know when
Let's
we
go.
were getting there. I didn't know if we wanted to jump right in that. So
let's
just cue
get
me.
in. Let's go.
Just be careful, Subria, because Kacy posted my rant about Grayson from a few weeks back, and Bucks fans on Twitter found it, and now
Pull up.
Woo, they mad.
She said,
Pull up to my mentions at SUBRIAWHITAKER. Listen, I want all the smoke. Let's go.
I love it.
I will say so. Like it feels like that Grayson Allen incident, act of violence. It almost feels like that. It was kind of like a watershed moment for this rivalry because it was sort of lacking that bad blood. We've never developed that bad blood. Either the Bulls are good and the Bucks suck, or the Bucks, are good and the Bulls suck. And now the Bucks are obviously reigning NBA champions.
Right.
The Bulls are trying to climb up to the throne again. Not quite there, so I don't know. Maybe the Bucks don't quite view us the same way as they might right now, the Heat or other teams that they've had, long, the Nets, long playoff series for. But that Grayson Allen is kind of what we need, like almost like the old Stanley Cup playoffs, bad type of blood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you want some of that still. And, we have seen a couple of Bulls players give Grayson a decent foul. First, it was Derrick Jones Jr., and then in their last regular season game, it was Vooch sending him to the floor. But you're right in that, like, right now, they're the defending champs, and the Bulls are a team that's trying to be on the up and up. But, the Pistons didn't fear those younger iterations of young MJ, young Pip, young Horace, because they knew that they were better than them and that they also had a mental edge. And that's the part that's been frustrating for me to watch, is feeling like anytime the Bucks go on a quick little run or the Bulls have a few possessions that come up empty in some of these regular season games, the Bulls are the ones hanging their heads and the Bulls are the ones getting pushed around. So clearly, like, I'm like Subria, like, that pisses me off to no end. And I'm starting to feel a little bit of a rivalry here between Bulls and Bucks. But right now, the Bulls are the little brother and the Bucks are the big brother. But it's okay because, they're trying to get, championship number 3 in franchise history, this season, if they defend their title. If they do that, they'll still only be 3 to our 6, so I can still sleep at night.
Kacy, where are you at with the Bucks?
I mean, the only thing I like about the Bucks is that they have great in-game presentation. They have awesome. The Pfizer form's new, right? So that's cool. It's great, but it's not classic like the UC. I know these teams have met 4 times in the playoffs, Matt? So I mean, it goes back to the 70s, 74 with Kareem, drafted by the Bucks.
Yeah,
that's where it started, but it's kind of dwindled since then. So
I respect that they were able to build what they've been able to build. They stayed in Milwaukee with that arena. Obviously, they landed the Freak, which is an absolute game changer.
And he stayed in Milwaukee, which is why they're still there. He could have left and bolted to some big market. And to his credit, he said, no, I'm going to stay in Milwaukee and I'm going to win a championship. And he did.
But it's only an hour and a half from the UC to Milwaukee. So it feels like it should be more. It feels, though, like the Bulls should actually have a blood rival on the level of the Cardinals or Packers. And the Bulls don't quite have that. It's almost like it's changed over the years.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's always this comment when people talk about Serena and someone and they're trying to make it a rival. And then you go look at the score and she maybe has beaten Serena twice. And it's well, is that really a rivalry? So I just feel like they don't necessarily deserve a rivalry with us yet. I mean, they do now after Allen, but before then it was catch up. We don't really know you. I mean, you're there, but you have to do a little bit more to be on our radar in a sense.
Yeah.
But now with the whole Allen situation, now it's personal. So I think that's even a different type of rivalry, not a rivalry of respect, but more of just we owe you one.
Who do you think the Bulls' biggest rival is, though?
Cleveland.
For sure?
I mean, okay, well, maybe that's another personal thing because immediately when you start talking about Milwaukee, my first thought was to pull a chapter from Joe King's book and say, well, I've never heard anyone say they go to Milwaukee on vacation. Yeah. And to this day, I still want smoke with all LeBron fans. So but
I feel like it's been a revolving top spot. Like it used to be the Knicks or the Pistons. Then it was the Heat. Then it was the Cavs.
Yeah, I always thought it was Detroit. Is it Detroit?
Really?
You think historically?
Now? Maybe not now. Okay.
So Matt and I were talking before the show. I think it's the Knicks.
So, I mean, and I'm fresh off of reading Blood in the Garden by Chris Great book, by the
Shout
way,
out to
for all Bulls fans to read. The entire story of the 90s Knicks, and the Bulls are obviously very prominent in this telling of that story of the 90s Knicks. I think that the Pistons and the Knicks are essentially on that same level, but it's just that the Bulls were different as far as when the Bulls-Knicks rivalry was a thing. The Bulls were the ones being who everyone else was trying to knock off the top of the mountain. They were the champs. The Knicks were coming at them. They were young and scrappy. The Knicks were to the Bulls what the Bulls were to the Pistons. But they were equivalent quality of rivalries, in my opinion. If you're talking about modern Bulls, post-dynasty Bulls, the answer isn't a team. The answer is a name, and it's LeBron frickin' James.
Okay, so I was half right.
So, okay.
There's a common thread.
The best Bulls team post-dynasty was the D-Rose Bulls of the early 2010s. In a span of 6 years, LeBron knocked the Bulls out of the playoffs 4 times. 2010 with Cleveland, 2011 with Miami, 2013 and again with Miami, and 2015 when he was back in Cleveland. That's the Bulls' rival. And thank goodness he decided to go play for a crappy Lakers team. Get out of the conference. Get out of our division. See you never.
I just wish that there was a team. And I think it's almost kind of a reflection that the Bulls are still a newish team, right? Newish in parentheses compared to because they started off in the 60s. They were largely terrible until Michael Jordan showed up. And they've been largely terrible since he left. So nothing has really ever stuck.
No.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not like the Cubs Cardinals, were playing each other in the 1920s and 30s and 40s, whatever. The Bears and Packers are the oldest rivalry in the NFL. And
but even like Brewers Cubs with I-94 rivalry, like
so
that's more of a
That brings
thing.
me to my next thing. Like, I feel like Brewers Cubs now is finally becoming more of a thing 5 years into the Brewers being in the National League. So, but I like a lot of that is like we saw the series last week. There was, a lot. They're hitting each other with pitches. Wilson Contreras is going, whatever.
Yeah.
So it feels like it's finally developing the Chicago-Milwaukee rivalry.
Yeah, and like definitely when Ryan Braun got all mixed up in his scandal a few years, I guess that was a while ago now, but that just added fuel to the fire of Chicago people throwing stones at anything that people up there in Wisconsin.
Well, the Sox Brewers were a pretty underrated rivalry back, for a long time.
Yeah.
The Brewers joined the National League, and all that happens is Sammy Sosa hits like 60 of his 66 homers against the Brewers that year. I think that was the actual.
Yeah, but what was the big story? It was him versus Mark McGwire slamming homers for who?
Right.
the real rival.
Yeah.
And now Miller Park is Wrigley North.
How do you think Bucks fans view the Bulls right now?
Oh, they don't like us. They have serious little brother complex still, and they're trying to puff out their chest because they got a championship. If my Twitter mentions could tell stories, my God. And like I think that they are bitter about the fact that speaking of fill in the blank North, that's United Center North still. We'll see what the attendance split looks like in these first 2 Milwaukee home games 1 and 2 of the series that starts on Sunday. But in these regular season games, even in the last span of years when the Bucks have been good, not even champions yet, but good, and the Bulls have been utter trash, that place is still 50% or more Bulls fans. Because Bulls fans are real and Bucks fans are new and trying to pretend that they're real.
The last Michael Jordan game I was ever in attendance for was that last season, the Last Dance season. You couldn't get a ticket here at the United Center, or if you did, they were $400 or $500, whatever. And I still remember calling up like Ticketmaster when the Bradley Center tickets went on sale, and I think it was like a January game or something. My dad and I went there, and that was the last time we saw Michael Jordan play for the Bulls.
Yeah, so it was a heck of a lot easier and cheaper to get a ticket to a Bulls game outside of Chicago somewhere,
even though it was up there. Yeah, I mean, the rivalry's had its moments, but a lot of times it's been, okay, we're winning game number 70 against the Bucks.
It's just like the timelines when the Bucks have been good, the handful of times they have been, the Bulls have been bad, and vice versa.
All right, well, so we're going to actually now dive into our second part of the Chicago versus Milwaukee conversation, which I think is going to be a lot of fun. On every CHGO sports podcast that we have a fun second segment. But first, the best way to support CHGO is to download the PointsBet app and use code CHGO when you sign up. If you do that right now, you will get 2 risk-free bets up to $2,000. That's not it. If you make a $50 or more first-time deposit, you will receive a free CHGO membership, which unlocks all of our web content, and you'll even get a free shirt of your choice from the CHGO locker. It's $2,000 in free bets, a free CHGO membership, and a free T-shirt from the CHGO locker, all for making more than a $50 first-time deposit at PointsBet. By the way, if you do get that CHGO membership, Big Dave just wrote an awesome article about why this playoff appearance means a lot to him because of the last 5 or 6 years in Bulls fandom. Anyway, if you have any questions, you can email pointsbet@allchgo.com, and we will help you out. PointsBet is your home for live in-play betting, and it just got even better. Introducing PointsBet's new feature, Live NBA Same Game Parlay, which is going to come in handy for the playoffs. For the first time ever, you can build the perfect live NBA Same Game Parlay only with PointsBet. You can combine your favorite bets anytime during the game. You can also boost your live Same Game Parlays. Boost! Watch live, parlay live, and boost live with PointsBet. And now, online sign-up is available in Illinois. You can download the PointsBet app right now and register your account from start to finish, all from your phone, while you listen to us debate Chicago versus Milwaukee. I will tell you this one thing. You can't PointsBet in Milwaukee yet. Wisconsin has not made that available.
No, because they're losers.
Point.
You can't even
Chicago.
You can't online register. You can't in-person register. You got to come back across this. You might have to pay a toll. But if you want to make a bet, you come back in on PointsBet. But it'll be worth it because you're going to win. Anyway, what are you waiting for? Once the game starts, don't just bet. Live your bet life with PointsBet. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
And even if you aren't a sports betting person, that's okay. You should still sign up for a CHGO membership because you're going to get all sorts of amazing things. Not only these podcasts and live shows that we're doing on every Chicago team every day, we're doing pregame and postgame shows. You can check those out for this Bulls playoff series against the Bucks coming up. We're also doing those now for both the Cubs and the White Sox with those great crews. Premium written content for your CHGO members at allchgo.com, including that piece from our guy Big Dave that Kev just mentioned. Everybody writing about all of these teams across the board. Vinny with the White Sox, Ryan and those guys with the Cubs, plus dope shirts. I'm seeing so many on Twitter. Our pal Mark K, our contributor from Australia, just got his CHGO shirt in Australia, and I don't have mine yet, and I'm freaking out a little bit, but they're on the way. And you get a free shirt when you sign up for that membership, plus access to our members-only Discords, one channel for every team to hang out with your fellow fans.
That Discord is getting great.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Fired up during every game. I was watching the Sox last night, people
right.
going back and forth.
So, when I've been hanging out in there, I'm like, oh, I could spend all day in here with these crazy fans. So if you're looking for a way to procrastinate at work, but doing so subtly, check out those Discord channels. They're a lot of fun. What are you waiting for? Sign up. CHGO.
Have you been in the Sky Discord, Subria?
Not yet. I have not.
Got to get in there.
I will.
The season starts, what, May 7th?
May 6th.
May 6th.
Yes.
Soon.
Exciting.
Yes.
Awesome. Anyway, keep the comments coming here. Chicago versus Milwaukee. I love some of these. Charlie, I love this one. As a kid from Chicago and current student at Marquette, Chicago is a much better city. However, Milwaukee is a lot better for broke college students. Easily, Chicago is greater than Milwaukee as a city, though.
That's fair.
I like that. The great thing about going up to Milwaukee is that your blood alcohol content just automatically rises when you hit city limits. There's like nothing you can do. It's like you get there, you immediately have to get out of your car because
you'd be driving over the legal limit?
Yes.
It's just like several beers just appear in your lap when you cross the state line.
All right, before we get into some of these fun categories, and we want you guys in the chat to actually tell us your favorites or who you think wins these different categories. But, Lawrence, can you bring up the all-time records of Chicago sports teams versus Milwaukee sports teams? This actually is not pretty.
Oh, no.
You got it, Lawrence? Okay. So, all time, the Bulls lead the Bucks 132 to 127 for now.
Well, hey, and that will still stand regardless of what happens in this series because even if the Bucks win it, they'll still be at 131.
I'm not feeling great by next January.
We got him by at least another season, Kev.
So, do you remember when the Bears led the Packers by many dozens of games?
Mm-hmm.
No longer. So, the Bulls lead the Bucks 132 to 127. The Packers now lead the Bears 103-95 to 6. So even if we had somehow managed to, win those ties, we'd still be behind. Brewers lead the Cubs 200 to 198. That looks like it's going to probably go back and forth for a while. The White Sox are the savior here.
Clearly the better team.
208 to 181, and I think it's probably going to be really hard for the Brewers to close that gap because they're going to play a maximum of 3 times a year now.
Right.
So we're good for that for now. And then I threw this one in. Marquette all-time leads DePaul 77 to 44.
Man, that is
Men's
a
basketball.
lot further of a gap than I would have guessed.
Yeah, we need the women's basketball stats on this.
Lawrence, can we look up the women's basketball?
If it's not,
I don't know if that was on StatMuse.
if it's not in DePaul's favor, though, then
It has to be.
don't talk about it. But I just wanted to clarify that Marquette leads DePaul. It's men's basketball team. Like,
Why can DePaul like have a great women's program and the men just can't put it together? I mean,
DePaul women's team
Doug
legend
Bruno?
Sarah Kustok used to do sports broadcasting here in Chicago. Now she's
Yes.
doing Nets games for Yes Network out in New York.
Yeah,
Mad Hooper for DePaul.
it just sucks.
Yeah.
And I want the DePaul women to get to a Final Four. Can we make that happen, Subria?
yes, I need people to come help Anissa out, though.
Yes.
Like, she cannot do it herself. Shout out to.
We need Anissa in studio. That would be a great pod.
So I heard that request would have to go through Coach Bruno, but I think we might be able to make it work because
get Coach Bruno out here, too.
I saw on Twitter right before I came here, it's DePaul Day at Wrigley. Unfortunately, I cannot attend because I have vowed to never step foot in Wrigley.
What's your beef with Wrigley and the Cubs?
I'm a Southsider, and it's just uncomfortable whenever I go over there. I don't like it.
We had a DePaul class in yesterday for the Bears
saw
podcast.
that.
So that was kind of cool. We need
Yeah.
some more DePaul.
Yes.
They're gonna send us a pennant. Don't worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Love DePaul.
I want the old school DePaul logo.
Yeah, we want that
one was
old blue
I don't want
demon.
the, what do you call like the new one? There's like a name for it. The new DePaul. This is lame. All right, Chicago versus Milwaukee. You guys ready to get started?
Let's
on some
do
of
it.
these categories?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Better lakefront.
Is that even a question?
They have a lakefront?
I didn't
Yeah,
know that
do
did.
they?
I didn't know you could go down to the lake there.
They have a great lakefront brewery. I will give them that.
Lakefront brewery is amazing.
Yes.
We will get to that. But it's actually
But
not
just-
on the lakefront. It's on a river.
You're right.
What?
I'm just picturing, like, what was the name of that three-eyed fish in that episode of The Simpsons? Blinky? Yeah. Wisconsin lakefront, that's what I have in my mental image.
Yeah. Chicago obviously had the foresight to set aside a lot of the lakefront for public land, and that has benefited us well. So Chicago gets the square or circle or whatever. In honor of Gilbert Gottfried, R.I.P.
Oh,
Sorry. Best skyline / architecture.
Chicago.
like also
doubt.
kind of goes along with lakefront, right?
No
Because
doubt.
ours is a skyline
I'm
on a
sensing
lakefront.
a
and-
pattern. Every time you roll up on 94 and you're in that like weird little pretzel highway system that they've got down there, you're like, this is it. And every building looks like it stopped being cared for in like 1972.
Yeah.
So we've actually built several new buildings since 1972, including the Sears Tower, my friend. So Chicago gets that. All right, here's a category that I think Chicago might be able, or Milwaukee might be able to compete with. Best sausages: bratwurst versus the Polish.
This might be the one category where I will give them if you're giving
Look at that.
bratwurst to
Yeah.
Wisconsin
You're
and saying
listening
the
to the
Polish is
podcast.
Chicago.
You are missing like some great pictures of. Like I'm just going to leave right now and find the closest. Sausage
I've just
stand.
always been a brat guy over a Polish
Same.
guy.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, dude, just like even like Sheboygan Jewel Osco brand bratwursts are some of the most delicious things you can eat any day of any week,
I'm so
anytime.
hungry.
I'm going to go with the Polish here.
Okay.
I got to rep that. It's a different, it's the bratwurst is more utilitarian. You're going to eat it more regularly, but I think the Polish sausage is exquisite. So I'm going to go with the Polish sausage. Dice that up, a little sauerkraut.
Oh, sure.
Still
Delicious.
All right, here's a good one. I think this one might open up a chord here. Best television shows. And there's a lot in actually both cities.
So I see this list that you've typed up, and to me, it's Chicago by a mile with with just one show, and that's Family Matters. I watched that show religiously as a kid. You can't beat Reginald Vell Johnson and Jaleel White, right? Who played Urkel?
Yeah.
Like limitless belly laughs watching that show.
Yeah.
Reginald Vell Johnson is a treasure.
They tore down the house from the opening credits. It was in Lincoln Park.
Well, thanks for depressing me, Kev.
And they, I know, it's just kind of what happens. And they just built like one of those kind of soulless 3-story, duplexes or whatever. All right. Chicago television shows. And this is not comprehensive, but we've got Good Times, great show. Family Matters, great show. ER, great show. Shameless, I was not a Shameless guy.
I liked it.
People love it.
It kind of ran out of steam in the last few seasons.
I don't think it was like about Chicago. You could have put that said, "Hey, they're in Boston." It would have been the same show.
I mean, there are a lot of references to the city and their back of the yards neighborhood.
I didn't watch the entire run, so you have The Chi, South Side, which is awesome.
Married with Children, we
Married
didn't
with
put
Children,
on there,
we don't have on there.
but good show.
What else is there?
Well,
And then like every crappy Chicago Dick Wolf show.
and so I read that in the list, and I didn't even say anything because I watched Chicago PD last
good?
night. I like Chicago PD.
Okay.
I do like Chicago PD, but I do want to add on there. Are you all familiar with 50 Cent's Power?
If
Yeah.
familiar
The
with it,
new
yeah.
one, Power Force, is set in Chicago with Tommy, and there's a lot of authenticity. And some of the actors were just shouted out at the Bulls game. I
Really?
saw.
Nice.
Yeah. So
I'm like 10 years behind on television, so you can't count that against me. Once I had children, that was it.
and also, it's not a show, but Hardball. I mean, you all remember that movie, right?
I mean, someone did ask, what about movies?
Hardball.
I don't think there's any Milwaukee movies. Milwaukee movies, they're always just visiting. Blues Brothers, Wayne's World.
Right.
Like it's just
Right. Blues Brothers is a Chicago movie.
Is there a good Milwaukee movie? I don't even know.
No.
And Wisconsin television shows, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, that 70s show, Step by Step. And then I know no one's ever heard of this show. It was a whole new ball game. It was on ABC in the mid-90s. Corbin Burnson played a Wisconsin sportscaster. I may have been the only person who ever
I've quite
watched
literally
the show.
never heard of that show in my life,
They
and
have it on
I
YouTube.
spent my 90s watching television.
Look it up.
That's
It existed.
I don't believe you.
Richard Kind was in it, Bing Bong from Inside Out.
Aw, I love that movie.
You just thought of Bing Bong Dime,
Yeah.
didn't you?
Yeah.
We're going to Chicago on the television shows, I think, across the board here.
I think we have to.
All right.
Yeah.
So the first thing that comes up when you Google a whole new ball game is a cartoonish looking children's book made for 4th through 6th graders.
How many like pages do you think you have to go of Corbin Burnson results before getting to a whole new ball game? Probably like 75.
Okay, so a whole new ball game, TV series 1995, IMDb is like near the bottom of page 1.
For Corbin?
Yeah.
Oh, good for him.
Okay. Accidentally helping Milwaukee here because someone put Mr. 3000 in there. That movie, it says it's a Milwaukee
That is a
Brewers
good
player.
one.
However, Bernie Mac is from Chicago,
He is.
and
Yeah.
his daughter attended Morgan Park, which has a theme here. Clearly, that's my Morgan Park agenda. So that goes back to Chicago by default.
And Major League was also filmed at County Stadium. So we've got that. Is that a Milwaukee movie? Does that qualify? I don't know.
That's Cleveland.
Ew.
Cleveland movie.
But it was filmed at County Stadium.
Oh, okay.
They're just visiting, right? I mean, it's like the
Home
Alice Cooper
Alone.
concert.
We forgot about Home Alone as a movie.
Oh, classic.
Classic.
Although I have to say I prefer Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. So that's a New York
a New
movie,
York
not a
movie.
Chicago movie.
Yeah.
Chicago movie episode of CHGO podcast is going to be awesome. That's just going to be an entire hour. We're not
Yeah.
going to do segments. It's gonna be- All right, best football hero: Walter Payton versus Brett Favre or Aaron Rodgers. Not a contest.
Okay. Is now the time when we need to bring up what I heard Jarrett Payton say on the Bears show yesterday? Well, so I heard it secondhand from our guy Lawrence here, and we were talking with Greg from CHGO Hawks. So, Jarrett has a bar out in the burbs, right? And it's a place where people come and hang out, watch Bears games. He announced yesterday, talking to our Bears crew, that he is opening another bar/restaurant in the same neighborhood that he's going to tailor to Packers fans.
The Northwoods Inn, yeah.
No.
What the hell, JP?
Duke's Northwoods Inn.
Why?
We need him to answer.
The son of sweetness
not
is
an
opening a Packers bar on this side of the state line? What the hell's he doing? And like, JP's my guy. I used to do his show Sports Feed like all the time. I love JP. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Did you hear the nice things that JP said about us?
Yeah, he said
And now
he
you're
loves
on
the
here saying it's the
content.
And
dumbest
I
thing?
just told you JP's my guy, but that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
He said, keep it up. I love what you guys are doing. I love the content. Here we are.
I love some of these comments, though. Better stadium, Fiserv is ridiculous. I actually haven't been there yet. I really want to go.
It's really cool.
I want to go for like a Marquette, Wisconsin game. I'm
Yeah.
a Wisconsin alum, so.
I mean, I will give them that. It's definitely a nice stadium. They did a good job putting it together.
Honestly, if I want to see some Eastern Conference Finals basketball, I'll probably have to go there next month.
Also true.
Got to play the games first, Kev.
That's true. That's true. Best festival. This is a good one. Summerfest versus Taste of Chicago.
What about Lollapalooza, though? Everyone loves
gross.
Lolla.
No. Lola's trash.
I think Summerfest
That does
wins
not help
this
the
one.
Chicago argument.
I think
Taste
Summerfest.
Chicago. Blues Fest. Hell yeah.
Blues Fest, yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what
Taste of
Summerfest
Chicago
is.
has really lost steam the last, 10
Yeah.
years or whatever. I think back in the day, I liked Taste of Chicago because it was like, all right, we're going to get straight to eating, and then maybe Coco Taylor will be on the stage later. Right? So I'm going with Summerfest, though, because I've been up there several times, a little bit more diverse of a music lineup, a little bit bigger acts.
But is
So.
there food?
Oh, yeah. Everything's fried.
Yeah.
Funnel cakes for days.
Okay. Well, I'm
Good
going to
food.
stick with Taste of Chicago then, because if there's food involved and I'm going for the food, the Chicago food is going to beat the Milwaukee food. So by default, I'm going to have to go with Taste.
I was researching last night. The first big section on the Taste of Chicago Wikipedia page is about the 2007 salmonella outbreak, which I don't remember happening.
I don't
it was
remember
like one
that.
stand. I was like, I feel like Wikipedia, like, I don't know, like, I need to get in there and like contest that.
Well, it's on the internet, Kev, so you know it's true. Mm-hmm. And quadruple fact checked if it's on Wiki for sure.
All right. What else we got?
So who's been leaking? One of you all must have leaked what we were talking about, because I see What About Music? Any famous artist from Milwaukee, Chicago has plenty.
You guys are reading our minds.
Right.
We'll get to
That's
that.
on the list.
go to the music.
It's coming up.
Milwaukee is Violent Femmes and Eric Benet.
I could take or leave either
I
of
think
those.
Guster's from Milwaukee too.
Guster's decent.
But we have Wilco, we have Kanye, we have Chance.
Right. I
Lupe,
saw that in
Common.
Twister.
Also, John Belushi.
Chief Keef. Like, come on now.
Just seriously,
Yeah.
Blues
Bird,
Brothers
Dirt,
soundtrack.
That
all
is
of them.
true.
Fantastic music from start to finish. John
Sticks.
Belushi, College of DuPage, shout out.
Smashing Pumpkins. That's kind of suburban, but Glenbard North, shout out.
Wait, isn't Buddy Guy? Hello? Yeah. So
Buddy
I
Guy.
think Chicago wins this one.
Chicago. All right. Best WNBA team.
I mean, catch up. They got to get one first.
All right, but wait, but
That-
didn't they used to have a Milwaukee Aces team like way, way, way back? Or is that not true?
I think that might be, yeah, but that would be pre-WNBA, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was like the WNBA was not the first like league for women's basketball. It kind of came in and took out the original.
Right.
Yeah.
Best NHL team.
Default victory for Chicago.
All right. Let's get into some other ones. Best tailgating, Miller Park versus Comiskey.
I tailgated for the first time at Comiskey, and it was so much fun for opening day. Their home opener, it was a blast. Everybody was so nice. Everybody was just willing to give us food and beer and just talk to us. And it was
Herb was
just
the mayor, you said?
Herb was the mayor of Lot B. So, I mean, honestly, we had a great time. I've never tailgated at Miller Park, though.
I love Comiskey tailgating. We talked about going to 35th Street Dogs and getting that and drinking beers. That said, Miller Park tailgating is out of this world, so I'm giving it to Milwaukee here.
As a Cubs fan, I'll abstain from voting on that category.
We should definitely do a CHGO bus trip to Milwaukee one year.
Subria, have you tailgated at Sox Park?
No, I am unfortunately like the worst tailgater ever in the sense that I don't really think I've ever done it before, except that one time, Sarah Spain does like the pizza for the tailgate for the Chicago Red Stars.
Right.
So I attempted to go early, but I don't think I ever made it there. So yeah.
We'll get you there. We'll do it.
Best mascot, Bernie Brewer versus Clark the Cub.
So Lawrence made a good point about this. Clark the Cub doesn't even have pants, but Bernie Brewer has a sick mustache.
He does.
Daffy Duck didn't wear pants. Does that mean people didn't love him? People don't love him? Why does a mascot need pants? It's not like they're anatomically correct.
Not a lot of mascots have pants, but for some reason people are particularly offended by the bear not wearing pants.
Why?
Because he looks like he's like a Pooh Bear. Pooh Bear didn't wear pants.
Bernie the Brewer, though, was a lot cooler when he dove in the beer. And then they somehow like got rid of the beer stein because they're like, oh, we got to make this family friendly. Again, I've never walked into Miller Park with like a blood alcohol level like below 0.5 or something. Like,
Don't they have a girl mascot too? Doesn't he have like a partner?
I think maybe they used to.
He might, or they used to, yeah.
So the Lakefront Brewery, which you talked about, they actually have the original chalet in there. You can actually go in there and pretend like you're Bernie Brewer. And they have the bottling line from Laverne and Shirley. So you take this tour, and it's an amazing tour. Like if you do the day trip to Milwaukee, you have to go on the Lakefront tour because it's done by these local theater kids. So it's like super entertaining because most like the brewery tours you go on, they're like hops this and fermentation that. And I'm like, this is the worst science class I've ever been to. And I'm tuning out, and please let this be over until we can get to the beer samples. And there you actually bring the beer along, and they tell jokes, and you get to see the bottling line from Laverne and Shirley, and wave to like the glove on it, whatever. So, Lakefront Brewery tour is, I think, probably better than any brewery tour here.
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Are you
The
kidding
Goose
me?
Island tour is really cool, but
it?
it is, like you said, it's a little sciencey.
Very sciencey.
You
I don't
got to
like
learn the
science.
science behind your beer.
Yeah.
Also,
All right.
there are a zillion breweries in Chicago, and you could do a brewery crawl throughout the city, any neighborhood, and it will beat whatever they got going on across the border.
Best throwback logo, the Milwaukee ball and glove, or the winning ugly 83 Sox batting guy. Is there a name for him?
When I realized that the MB was in the glove, I was shook.
Me too.
I mean, it's incredible.
I have a Brewers friend who pointed that out to me,
Yeah.
like maybe 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
My brain exploded.
Literally, like I was today years old. And I mean, it's a great logo. They're both great, though.
I think the Brewers wins.
Yeah.
I feel like that Sox logo is great, but any kind of greatness is derived from that 1983 team winning 99 games and winning the AL West. So we're going to give the ball and glove logo. Although the Brewers are so dumb, like they went away for that for many, many years. So
Got to stay with it. It's a great logo.
did you keep track of the victories, Lawrence? Who wins?
We
Chicago won. Chicago wins. All right. What do you guys think? I think that's kind of what we thought was going to happen.
Yeah. At the onset of that exercise, I could have told you.
Tyrone said, I don't even know why it's a debate. Chicago is by far the best city, and I don't even live there. Thank you.
Well, I think
have spoken.
the jumping off point, Kev, was because we have a Chicago-Milwaukee series that's about to start this weekend.
Correct.
What other time to visit the rivalry of the cities and not just the teams necessarily?
And we have to make ourselves feel better in advance of the butt kicking.
Bingo.
You guys, Charlie, we just told him about the MB in the logo. He just figured it out now.
That's not true.
You're welcome.
He is a college kid, though.
Learn something new every day.
All
You're
right.
welcome.
Let's move on. This July 10th, the WNBA All-Star Game is coming to Chicago for the first time ever. Subria is pumped. It's not official yet. The league has not announced it, but Subria has actually confirmed with some of her sources. That
Yes.
it's a done deal. What can we expect?
Well, that's a great question. It's like with the WNBA, honestly, you never know. Like, you just really never know. Automatically it's better though, because last year, even though it was in Vegas, it was on like a Wednesday or Thursday type thing. So the fact that we have it kind of on the tail of a weekend is really cool. And there's a lot of like Nike and Summer Jam tournaments going on. So I think if they do it right, it could be legendary, especially since we kind of just had the NBA All-Star Weekend. So just we keep that basketball momentum going, and just basketball. I mean, Chicago to me is a basketball city.
Yeah.
I mean, from high school up. So I'm really excited.
Defending champs hosting it, which is really cool.
Yes.
Have you been to a WNBA All-Star Weekend?
I have not.
Okay. I'm interested to see what it's like.
So the other thing about it is the fact that they don't have the bids. Like, well, teams do bid on it. But, we just learned about it allegedly. It still hasn't even technically been announced yet.
Right.
It's, April something.
It's July 10th is the game.
July 10th, right. So it's like it's hard for a lot of fans to plan ahead. So because as soon as it was reported by Annie, we called the hotel that's attached to Wintrust, and they're already booked.
Oh,
so
well, that's a tip. Yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully more people can get it though. I like that it's in Chicago because I feel like Chicago is also like a city you can drive to. Whereas I would never drive to Vegas.
Well, hasn't Connecticut had it 4 times because they're going to sell out the building? And
I mean, Connecticut, I think, just has a good foundation with basketball though. I think the team, the ownership group, because it's community owned, their ownership group just does a lot of great things to build their brand. And I mean, the Sky weren't here until 2006, so they kind of have a ways to go, I feel like, to really tap into the community and build those relationships with DePaul fans and Loyola fans and just the CPS schools all around. So I think this will actually be a perfect opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
It's definitely going to beat NBA All-Star Weekend 2020 because that was the Bulls were the laughingstock of the league at that point.
Yeah.
And then
it was cold.
Also it could have been the first Chicago super spreader because that was February
literally.
2020.
So let me tell you, I did participate and I had tickets to wherever the WNBA players were, naturally. Team USA, I had tickets to that. And then I went to whatever activation they were doing in Navy Pier. And then something happened that gave us tickets to the Megan Thee Stallion concert the day before. It's February 15th, which is that Sunday. I'm putting on my clothes to go to my friend's birthday. And I'm just wait a minute. And I just felt terrible all of a sudden.
You had the first COVID.
I got so sick, and I went to get a flu test. They were it's inconclusive twice. So obviously it was COVID.
OG COVID.
You had the OG
The
COVID.
OG COVID.
We knew what it was.
All-Star COVID.
So anytime I think about COVID, I do naturally think about NBA All-Star
Yes,
Weekend.
that was
Yeah.
the
So we need a
last big
redo.
thing.
Yeah, we were all tearing around the city, having a great time, going to all these parties, and then a month later, the world exploded.
It's
I was
crazy.
man, remember All-Star Weekend? That was fun.
We broke the U.S.
Yeah,
I went to the No Dunks had a live podcast at Shuba's, and that that back venue at Shuba's was we were just packed.
packed like sardines.
And 3 weeks later, I was like,
Yeah. Ooh. Although, if there is something that NBA All-Star in Chicago 2020 did accomplish, it is that and this is just me being snarky,
No, that's
I
true.
think it's been reported a couple of different outlets, that was the beginning of the end of the old Bulls regime because they were actually embarrassed by being, hey, All-Star in Chicago. And everybody was like, yeah, but the Bulls suck. And they were because they finally, nobody was paying attention to the Bulls, being awful other than the occasional joke here or there. But the Chicago basketball was the focus for a full weekend, and the Bulls had no excuse for how bad they were.
that was so crazy because then it did kick off extended month-long run of Michael Reinsdorf reshaping the Bulls.
Yeah. So the NBA paused the season March 11th or 12th, I believe, and then in April they had hired AK.
It was such a novelty. It's they're interviewing these guys over Zoom,
Right.
which was but
But supposedly All-Star Weekend was the start of that process, and they started putting out feelers All-Star Weekend when the entire NBA world was here.
So do you mentioned fans having problems, making plans to be here. Are the brands going to be here for WNBA All-Star Weekend?
So that was another thing. There's a brand that's been very vocal. They're called Power Forward. They're actually I don't know if anyone has done this before, but they just bought 2 courtside tickets in all 12 markets for like their community, and you can nominate people. So I mean, the tickets can go to essentially anyone. And they were talking about months ago, they were like, man, we really want to do some cool activations for AllStar Weekend, whenever that is, wherever that is. But because they don't let us know until like the last minute, it's very hard for at least the smaller brands to be able to do something. And then it's also in competition with NBA Summer League. So I think the big brands now have an excuse. I mean, me personally, I don't think they were really going to be here anyway, because I think you have the capacity to do both. You don't have to choose. If you want to do, women's sports, you can do it. But now they kind of have an excuse to say, well, we were in Vegas for NBA Summer League that is almost 2 weeks long and had a bunch of days before the All-Star game and after, but we couldn't go. Sorry.
Well, spoiler alert, CHGO will be present in some form. We definitely want to do a live CHGO Sky podcast. So if you're watching this and you want to provide a venue or something like that, our ears are open. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. Like if the fun does not exist, we will create it.
Yes, absolutely.
And it's also really cool that it's in July when people are stoked about being in Chicago. Awesome. Chicago summertime as opposed to February.
Yes.
You and Janice were talking about that on the CHGO Sky podcast, and I was just like, okay, where would you rather go in July? Las Vegas, where it's going to be 800 degrees out, or Chicago?
Well, let's not
it'll also
jinx
be
it.
800 degrees
I'm
out.
about to say, but let's not jinx it, because Chicago is one of those weird places where it can be so cold even in July or so hot. So it's just like, hopefully it's a good mix.
I feel like July is a safe spot. May, June is a toss up.
It was a good day the other day, and then I walked outside and it was snowing. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, but that's what you get in April. July,
Right.
I'm with Katie. You can count on July being gorgeous in Chicago, and definitely way better than going anywhere in the Southwest, where it's like, oh, do you want your skin to actually melt off today? Come on down to Vegas.
Speaking of creating fun, Subria, you had a great Twitter thread that you unleashed on Sunday, where you went and you looked at basketball shoes and how they related to team colors in the WNBA. Tell me how you put this together.
Okay, so I know that they're technically called like some of them are called basketball shoes, like Jordan brand basketball shoes. But I named it basketball shoes because it was supposed to be like the basketball and shoes that aren't technically basketball shoes, but if you put them together, they're basketball shoes. So, I mean, I was looking at Jordan 1 Lows one day, and I saw these really cool shoes called Spades, and they have the Q on one side and the K on another side, like a deck of cards, and the spade is on the tongue of the shoe. And I was like, wow, that really looks like the Las Vegas Aces jersey. Like, if this were a WNBA team or a jersey, it would be the Las Vegas Aces.
Right.
And then I was like, wait a minute, a light bulb went off, and I said, I wonder if you can do that with all of the teams. So for quite a few weeks, I just was every day just looking everywhere I could, Googling certain color, like team color shoes, and just going through them, finding the number that worked best with the shoe. And then if you're watching with us, if you notice from the top, can you go back to the top for me? So if you go to the very first one, you see how the shoes are pointed left, and then you go down in the thread, and they're a different, like a random type of setup, and then you go and it's pointed to the left, pointed to the left, not pointed to the left, pointed to the left.
What does that mean?
Pointed to the left. And not, it doesn't mean anything, but I had to find it because, like, if one shoe, I couldn't find a picture where they were pointed to the left, then I had to go back and make sure, like, just little things that nobody cares about except me.
This
Oh,
is
then you have
dedicated.
aerial view on this pair.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do different views, but made sure it was still even. And they happened to be in alphabetical order from the name of the city.
Honestly, if you're listening to the podcast, make sure you go check out Subria's Twitter feed because this was a really cool thread. It got a lot of engagement. I think Aja Wilson actually responded to you.
Yeah, Aja Wilson, Kiana Williams, who was drafted last year, liked it. One of the New York Liberty players. So it made its rounds for sure.
And there's nothing worse than actually doing a lot of work on a Twitter thread and then it gets
I know.
3. So I was like really happy that this took off.
Yeah, you were
because
dedicated to
Me
this.
too.
You said it took weeks. I was like, it deserves.
Weeks of just like, because that was something I didn't want it to feel forced. Like that's
Right.
the thin line between content is executing it correctly and not trying to, that's a reach. So I was hesitant to post. I was like, well, I have to post it close to the draft because then it'll be kind of like a cool like excitement thing. People are already talking about it. And like right before I posted it, I even tweeted, I was like, you guys, I have this content and I don't feel like it's a good idea anymore. And people were just like, post it. So I was just like, okay, here it goes.
I looked at it at first and I was like, oh, this is really cool. Like they actually made shoes for every WNBA team. No. But it's like that wasn't the case at all. And looking closer, it was like, oh my God, Subria actually went through and found a shoe for every. That's crazy.
So many shoes, yes. But it also gave me an idea. So if you go to the last one, I did a little preview because obviously like with the Wilson basketball, I think that helped illustrate it because at first I was going to use logos and then I got the idea to do basketball and call it basketball shoes. But we're going to do jerseys as like for all the teams. Like I'm going to go on the CHGO Sky page and we're going to do jerseys. I found some cool examples already for the jersey that they, the bad luck jersey that they released last year. And then we're going to go back because that was basketball shoes part 1. Part 2 is going to be the teams that don't exist anymore. Like the Monarchs, the Charlotte Sting. So just going back to revisit because I also think we need to keep talking about the teams and like get our Detroit Shock and our Houston Comets back. So I want to be able to teach people more about the WNBA in a cool and engaging way.
Yeah.
Love it.
I think that's like one of the great things that like an opportunities the WNBA has is that there's so much cool fashion that can be employed and get different people into the game. I mean, it's a lot of opportunity. I've talked about this. I've actually felt very inferior walking into this building with so many young people and so many more cooler people than me. And my shoe game is not strong at all.
We flexing shoes? Hold on. Let me.
Look, here we go.
Have you seen how shiny Subria's are?
Yeah, her
those
like
things
patent leather.
sparkle.
Yeah, I can't compete.
I had to bring out the breads for. I mean,
You had to.
talking about
They're
the
impressive.
Bulls. So
They're impressive.
yeah.
So how many pairs have you bought after making that thread? Because if I went through and did all of that work and saw all of those cool pairs of shoes, I would have probably at least suckered myself into buying like
But they're
2
hard
or
to-
3 new
they're hard to
pairs.
find.
So look, I didn't get any after the thread, but as I was making the thread, I got the shoes that I wanted beforehand because there were a lot of people who were like, I want these.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, most of them you're not going to get unless
Right.
you want to pay like $300 for them.
Right.
Or more, honestly.
Or more. Yeah.
So you want to pay $300 for a new pair, Kev?
Not really, but I do want to know like
First ones.
how do I start like building my sneaker collection? Matt said you said you're a t-shirt guy. I am too because it's like, oh, you buy a t-shirt and now they're up to like $30, but
Put my leg.
It's still cheaper than a pair of shoes.
yeah, it is.
You have
But
to have
how
the
do I
sneaker
start?
app. You have to have the Nike
Yeah,
app.
it's honestly it's not fun anymore. Like I started my little shoe collection for the most part back when I was in high school, and they were not as expensive because I'm working high school job with high school hours, getting high school money, and then I can just pull up to Villa or somewhere and get the shoes the day they come out. Now you have to have the sneakers app and the Nike app and set a reminder on your phone.
And you don't always get
queue
selected.
it up, and
it's-
then it's a raffle for most of them. So
Right.
it doesn't
Right.
matter if you were there on time.
And I don't use it, but what I have heard from friends who do is that also, because I thought about downloading the sneaker app, and then I did some research, and I was like, this sounds terrible and like a waste of time. Your odds increase in winning those random drawings and pullings and whatever, the more you interact with their app. So the more time you spend on their app, the more likely it is that you'll actually win a pair of those shoes.
Really?
And it's like, who's got hours in
Yeah.
the day to spend just sifting through shoes on an app?
Sabria does.
I really don't. I don't.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think
Yeah,
anybody
no,
does.
I haven't really hit on sneakers at all. I have gotten lucky.
Yeah.
Just the fact that I noticed that if they do a drop on Nike or sneakers, it's coming out in stores later. So if you kind of so I have the Foot Locker app and the Nike app and the sneakers app and Champs and all of those. So I just watch there. Or sometimes I'll just be by a store and go in the store and do you have this shoe, and they happen to have it because no one knows it came out. Dick's Sporting Goods got a few Jordan Low ones randomly.
Remember when people used to shop in stores? That was a crazy time in our history.
So I worked at Sports Authority in high school. Second Bulls three-peat. I got a pair of Jordan, the playoff ones for '97. They just re-released them, kind of like they're black with like the white kind of wing, I guess. I still have them. They're in good shape. I don't know where they are.
Yikes.
And I
Gotta find them.
they're at my parents' somewhere. I can't find
Go
it.
in the attic,
in a
Kevin.
box in the attic.
They were on the sneakers app. And I wanted to find them because I wanted to walk in and everyone would be like, oh, did you win those? I was like, these are the real
Yeah.
thing.
I have entered 2 of the drawings. Didn't get selected for both. My Jordan 11s are the coolest shoes I own, and that's it. That's where I start and stop right now.
Yeah.
I got to get better.
So we need to have some sort of sneaker standings here. And I don't know how we're going to score it.
Dude, have you seen Cody's shoe game?
Cody is strong.
That dude's
Sabria's
crazy.
strong.
Yeah.
I mean, Twitter will tell us. The people were the
people
other
voted.
day when you put our shoes up there. People,
right.
some people were so passionate. Like I don't know if they knew that they were tagging all of us in it, but I'd be scrolling and feeling good. Like, ooh, they're like one is heat, and I'm like, ooh, I see a little fire emoji. Then I get to someone, one they're god awful ugly, and whoever's shoes though they should buy number 3 coffee, and I'm just like, what did I do to you?
Yeah.
Twitter
So
will tell
were
you.
those yours in the top left square, the number 1 square?
Yes.
Like the rainbow sherbet looking ones?
Yes.
Yeah, see, those are fire, but I think maybe some people don't have the confidence
Here we go.
to
Yeah.
pull off a shoe like
Yeah,
that.
we have Sabria's.
I actually like Natalie's the best.
See,
Natalie's are
I
number
voted
2.
4 because I just love a clean looking shoe.
And those are Cody's.
Okay.
Janice is number 3, and Natalie was number 2.
Yeah, I like Natalie's too. But I mean, I had on that was the day of the draft, so I had on my orange W hoodie.
Okay.
So naturally, if my hoodie is simple, I have to go crazy on the feet.
Both your and Natalie's shoes kind of reminded me of ice cream. So I wanted
Yeah.
to-
Yeah. They're very
But
visually
you can't
appealing.
eat shoes, Kevin.
Well, I don't know.
Sure can try.
I don't know. Now, I might have to go do a thread called "Is this cake?" and is it a shoe or is it cake?
I like that. I love the
Hopefully
Is It
they're
Cake
all
thread.
cake.
Yeah.
That's our new podcast here at CHGO coming up next week. This has been a lot of fun. This was a fun hour.
Twas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And before you kick me off, I do just want to remind everybody that our great Chicago Bull is from Morgan Park because that is part of my Morgan Park agenda. So just
I.O.
yeah.
I hope. And Grow the Game, you have a Sky ticket deal?
Oh, yes. So make sure you are tapping in with us because, like we said, we're going to do something crazy CHGO style for AllStar Weekend. But you can also go to www.growthegamew.com for discounted Chicago Sky tickets for every home game, including the home opener on May 6th against Candace Parker's former team, the LA Sparks. And a portion of your ticket purchase will go back to Grow the Game to help us continue to make connections, get fans engaged, do a lot of community service work, and continue to grow the game for women's sports.
Awesome. And remember, next Friday, Game 3 watch party at Third Rail Tavern here in the West Loop. Matt, Big Dave, and other CHGO personalities, put it on your calendar. We're going to have a good time regardless of what happens. Anyway, this has been the CHGO Sports Podcast for this week. We will be back here next Thursday at 12:30, pack a lunch. Thanks to all who joined us. Thanks to everyone who commented. Had a great time, and we will see you next week.